Before I even get into the video, I keep forgetting to do this, but if you could drop a like on the video, just helps out the video a ton. And if you could subscribe to the channel if you're new, I make content like this every single day, and doing so, it's just appreciated. Both of those things would be cool. Anyways, I was planning on making this video following this game because I knew it was going to be a good game. Portland versus Denver always delivers, and I knew who I was going to talk about. Jokic, Dame, Porter Jr., Compasso, the superstars. You know, the guys that we always talk about on this channel. I didn't anticipate Austin Rivers scoring 21 points, hitting 5 of 10 from 3, 7 of 14 from the field, and how many clutch buckets? Was that 4 threes in the fourth quarter? I believe it was 4 threes in the space of 6 or 7 minutes. It was ridiculous. Clutch 3 after clutch 3, even hit 1 or 2 off the dribble. Austin Rivers came out and delivered, and the Nuggets take a 2-1 lead despite still missing Jamal Murray, who obviously will be out for the rest of the playoffs, but this is a Nuggets team that continues to find different ways to win. Obviously, Jokic is Jokic. What does he do? He does what he always does. He drops 34. Late in the fourth, they started single-teaming him. He got to the bucket, and then they started double-teaming him. And that's where the opportunity was for Rivers to step up and take some of those shots because he was the guy in position off those double teams, and he made the most of it, hitting 4 threes in the fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm not going to check it right now, but he had a lot of threes, and it was ridiculous because he came out clutch, and that's a reason why the Nuggets are taking this lead, and it's a reason why the Nuggets now have command in this series. Just talking about Jokic, the Blazers don't have an answer. What's he averaging on the series? About 36 now. He shot over 50% again from the field, over 50% from 3, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Defensively, there are a few question marks over this Nuggets team because you've got Dame. They just set a high screen, and then Jokic has to step up because Dame can shoot it from 30 feet. And then once he steps up, obviously a Jokic versus Dame matchup, 30 feet from the rim isn't exactly ideal because Dame can get past him. But the Nuggets are able to make up for it because their offense is consistently getting buckets as well. And that man on the other end, despite his defense struggling a little bit in this series, like we expected, it doesn't really matter if it's Jokic. Pretty much 95% of centers and bigs would struggle against a Damian Lillard-led team because a similar thing would happen. And this is what Dame does. This is why he's such an elite scorer. I think people like to isolate Jokic as that kind of guy, but you look at Davis, Adebayo, and a handful of guys that could actually defend this kind of situation. About 3 or 4 people in the league could defend it, but pretty much everyone else would be put in the same situation and be doing the same thing as Jokic. So I think it's a bit unfair to just single him out and say he's playing terrible defense solely because of that. It's really just an incredibly tough situation to handle, and a reason why the Blazers have had a top offense for several years now. Their defense is a different story, and their defense is getting shredded by the Nuggets, but it's a reason why they've had a top offense because, you can just do that with Dame, and he's either hitting it from 35 feet or he's taking it to the rack. That's what Dame does. But in terms of Jokic on offense, he's unstoppable. Like I said, the Blazers have no answer. They've tried single-teaming him. Didn't work. Never going to work. They've tried double-teaming him. Didn't work. Never going to work. He sees over the double team, he finds the cutter, or he finds an open shooter. And when his open shooters are hitting shots like Rivers, Porter Jr., even Compasso hit a couple of shots, what can you do? And then when you've got a cutter like Aaron Gordon who got to the rim a couple of times on Jokic doubles, what can you do? Nothing really, and hence why, what the hell? It's now 115 to 118. I might have recorded this a little bit prematurely because the Blazers are now down by 3 points. The Nuggets should still win this, and the Nuggets appear like they've won, and Jokic got another bucket. So there you go, 120, 115. That's the final score. Apologies for doing that right in the middle of the video, but that was my live reaction to Portland coming back from what was like an 8-point deficit with 30 seconds left and seemed completely over, and they end up losing still. So the Nuggets take that win. As I was saying, I'm getting a little bit off track. My bad for that. As I was saying, tried single-teaming him, tried double-teaming him, tried throwing different looks at him. You throw small ball centers like the likes of Covington, even Melo guarded him on a couple of possessions. Cantor, stop it. Stop it. That's disrespectful. Enes Kanter should not go anywhere near Jokic. Should not go anywhere near Jokic. He should social distance himself from Jokic because that's just disrespectful to even put him in the same breath as Jokic when it comes to trying to defend him. Just stop it. Stop that. Jokic has done a decent job, but in general, this is what an MVP does. He takes over games, and he's someone that just continues to elevate his performance in the playoffs. It has to be appreciated how good he has been in the playoffs. Even when he was a 20-point-per-game scorer, the first couple of years, this is when I knew he was an MVP caliber player because 2 years ago, when he was a 20-point per game scorer, he took his game to another level in the playoffs. Last year, he took his game to another level in the playoffs. And this year again, I was thinking he could do it, even though he averaged about 28 in the regular season. He's taken his game to another level again. Pretty much every time, whatever he averages in the regular season, add about 10 points on top of that. That's what he does in the playoffs. And his efficiency doesn't suffer. His efficiency does not suffer. He's a cheat code. My guy is a cheat code on offense, and the Nuggets are reaping the benefits because their guys around him are getting open looks, or he's continuing to get to the bucket. And the Blazers, they're just going to, what are they going to do in this series? There's nothing to stop Jokic. They're just going to have to hope they score about 140 a night. That's really their only hope. And in Portland's defense, they did shoot terribly from three. They're going to shoot better in another game, but that's also going to happen. They rely so heavily on the three-point ball, whereas the Nuggets can get really nice looks from guys like Jokic inside, or cutters like Porter Jr. inside off double teams. They can consistently create offense without relying so heavily on the three ball, as opposed to Portland, who really need it to stay in the game and win a game. I think that's why the Nuggets offense is just a little bit more consistent and a little bit more suited to the playoffs. At least that's what I'm seeing so far. Series is still far from over. 2 of the 3 games have gone close enough to suggest Portland should probably snag at least one more game in this series. Anyone else to talk about? I mean, I've got to talk about him while I'm making a video about the Nuggets. Compasso, 11 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. He was on triple-double watch. I think he was on about 8, 7, and 8 in the third quarter, and I was like, if Compasso gets a playoff triple-double, I might dedicate a whole second channel solely to him, because a playoff triple-double for Compasso would be something that we need to see, and we still might see. But 11, 8, and 8 ended up with 2 steals, couple of timely steals down the stretch. He got one steal where he grabbed it out of the air, stuck his feet inside, and threw it back. That is the worst description I've ever done in my life, but you get the point. It was a great steal. It was a Compasso-like steal, and he's just in the heads of the Blazers fans and players, and you love to see it. He's a guy that's just going to annoy everyone, and I've said this before, he's going to be a pest in the playoffs, and it's going to be great to watch. Because for some reason, people think he's like this soft guy. He's from South America. I don't exactly know where this soft reputation comes from. I don't think Argentina's a very soft place, so they think they can get under his skin, but he's doing quite the opposite, getting under their skin, and they think they can bully him. Guys like Dame, Steph, just fans, I don't care who it is, people seem to think like they can just kind of tower over him. He's 5'10" or whatever he is, and he's from a different country, but Compasso's not taking any of that. He's not taking any of that. He's drawing charges. He's making plays. A couple of his passes he made, one to a cutting Gordon. Nasty stuff from Facu. And on the defensive end of the floor, he's harassing. He just harasses. He annoys. He does everything you want to see from someone who's 30 years old playing his first season in the NBA. He's someone who has championship experience. That's why I never doubted he would be able to deliver in the playoffs. And he stepped up his game. In all 3 of the games, he's been impressive, and he's been an important piece. Like I mentioned, Austin Rivers, this guy was out of the league, and now he is hitting clutch buckets after clutch buckets after clutch buckets, back-to-back threes. What are we doing right here? JaMychal Green came off the bench early in the first quarter or the second quarter, I forget, and made an impact. Paul Millsap's continuing to play all right off the bench. You've got guys that are contributing. Monte Morris, obviously off the bench, is someone who's always been a great bench player. In general, this Nuggets team continues to find ways to win, and obviously it's all centered around Jokic, because just like the solar system, everything kind of just rotates around it. Does that even make sense? Whatever. Anyways, MPJ as well had a pretty solid game. Gordon, solid game. In general, the Nuggets played well. Again, this video it's a Jokic kind of video, because he's a guy who needs a video, and I haven't made one on him through the first 3 playoff games in which he's been dominant in every single one of them, and he continued that into this game. But MPJ, he'll probably need to play a little bit better going forward than 15 points, 3 turnovers. He was okay. Defensively, he did look lost a few times. In general, sometimes you can just see Jokic screaming out for him to set a screen at a certain position, and he's just not really going to that position. Sometimes his awareness still seems a little bit off. I mean, Jokic does that to everyone because he sees the game at a different level. But MPJ, I've seen on a few occasions defensively and offensively, he still looks a little bit out of sync. Just a little bit. I mean, he's still going to give you 20 points a game, but yeah, he's just not been quite as good as we would have hoped for, considering how he finished the end of this year. But I think he can still improve on that. If I were to make any kind of note out of improvements for Denver, it would be defensively trying to find a way to quell the Blazers with Damian Lillard and that high screen. Is there many ways to do that? I think having someone like Green on the floor with Jokic at a few times at least gives them some kind of rim protection when Dame gets past him. So maybe that's a way of trying to combat it. I don't exactly know, but that's something that they're obviously going to have to look into. But at the same time, like I mentioned, Dame does that to everyone. The Trailblazers do that to everyone. That's how they get their offense. They're going to continue to do it. But if Jokic can go down the other end and continue to do what he does and just one-up them, then I guess that's a pretty good result for the Nuggets. And again, that's a pretty good result for the Nuggets this game. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Have a good day. I'll catch you next time.